Bhagavatam Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachai Yamunatira Vanachai Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Givadhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Givadhari Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachai Yamunatira Vanachai Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Radha Kalachandji ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Everyone together. Narayanam Namaskityam Naram Chaiva Narotanam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiyayat Nasapaye Shabadeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshun Militanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Prachayine Nirveshesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatayine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to another ecstatic morning program at Sri Radha Kalachandji Dham. How fortunate are we, actually? You know, we have everything it takes to become pure devotees right here. It's just a matter of whether we're willing to take it. So thank you for coming and giving me the opportunity to speak. Just whatever I've heard from the previous acharyas. Any kind of realization I have is due to the mercy of the devotees and the Lord. So, Hare Krishna. Today we're this new mic thing is completely blocking the screen. Okay. So today we're studying Canto 5, Chapter 22, the orbits of the planet. Who's excited to hear about the orbits of the planets? Jai. At first, when I saw that was my verse, I was like, oh no. It's like the hardest part for me to like follow through in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. But then when I saw the verse that was picked specifically in the purport, I was like, oh, actually this is like really essential and really relevant, really practical to us. Because what we'll be focusing on, the importance of accepting the Vedic authority. And in reality, that's everything. That's everything. That's the foundation of anybody's spiritual life. Is the first step is accepting Vedic authority. So we'll go into that. But first we'll read. So I was thinking, we're supposed to go through the whole chapter today. And I was thinking it would be more, we'd be more able to follow and grasp it if we read the summary and then the verse that we're doing today. So, because I was trying to read through the verses, honestly, I just wasn't like following. But the summary I could grasp, and the verse I could grasp. And on your own time, if you're really interested, really like scientifically minded, you can go and read the whole thing. But yeah, and so we'll go through a bit of, Vedic cosmology, and we'll look at some pictures, and then we'll go into, why is it important to accept Vedic authority? How can we accept and these things? So we'll read the summary. Who wants to read the summary? Yeah?
The orbits of the planets, chapter 22. In this chapter, the orbits of the planets are described. According to the movements of the moon and other planets, all the inhabitants of the universe are prone to auspicious and inauspicious situations. This is referred to as the influence of the stars.
Well, this is very interesting because, is anybody in here into astrology? This is talking about astrology. This is talking about the influence of the stars and the planets on us. Some are auspicious, some are less auspicious, these kinds of things. So it's interesting to see that there's actually Vedic praman, as we say, evidence that it's a legitimate thing. Whether the information that we can get nowadays is accurate is a different story. But we see that there's Vedic evidence for this. So we'll read the next paragraph, please.
The sun god, who controls the affairs of the entire universe, especially in regard to heat, light, seasonal changes, and so on, is considered an expansion of Narayana. He represents the three Vedas, Rig, Yajur, and Sama, and therefore he is known as Triyamaya, the form of Lord Narayan. Sometimes the sun god is also called Surya, Narayan. The sun god has expanded himself in 12 divisions, and thus he controls the 6 seasonal changes and causes winter, summer, rain, and so on. Yogis and karmis, following the Varnashram institution, who practice Hatha and Ashtanga yoga, or who perform Agnihotra sacrifices, worship Surya Narayan for their own benefit. The demigod Surya is always in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Residing in outer space, which is in the middle of the universe between Bhuloka and Bhuvraloka, the sun rotates through the time circle of the zodiac, represented by the 12 rishis, or signs, and assumes different names according to the sign he is in. For the moon, every month is divided into 2 fortnights. Similarly, according to the solar calculations, a month is equal to the time the sun spends in one constellation. 2 months constitute one season, and there are 12 months in a year. The entire area of the sky is divided into halves, which representing the Anya, the course traversed by the sun within a period of 6 months. The sun travels sometimes slowly, sometimes swiftly, and sometimes at a moderate speed. In this way it travels within the 3 worlds consisting of the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and the outer space. These orbits are referred to by great learned scholars by the names Samavatsara, Parivatsara, Adi Vatsara, Anu Vatsara, and Vatsara.
Okay, so back a little bit. So the first thing that is said in the summary is that the sun god, or the sun, is actually a form of Narayan. So we hear the term Surya Narayan. Has anybody ever done Surya Namaskar? Sun salutations. So he was talking about that in Ashtanga yoga or in Hatha yoga, that there's worship of the sun, but it's for their own benefit, so I can get peace of mind, or I can get a healthy body, or I can get mystic powers or impersonal liberation. So it's not the kind of worship of the Lord for pure devotional service. Yeah? Yeah, it's true. Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking, my mother, she loves the sun. She's like, a perfect day for her is just to sunbathe in the sun. So I guess in a way she's like worshiping the Lord in the form of like Surya Narayan. I mean, he lights up the whole world just like the Lord lights up our whole life. And it's because we are his energy that we can pervade this body with consciousness. So there's this verse in the Gita, right? Does anybody know it? That the soul lights up the body with consciousness. Okay, next paragraph, please.
The moon is situated 100,000 yojanas above the rays of the sunshine. Day and night on the heavenly planets in Pitraloka are calculated according to its waning and waxing. Above the moon, by a distance of 200,000 yojanas, are some stars, and above these stars is Sukragraha, which is Venus, whose influence is always auspicious for the inhabitants of the entire universe. Above Sukragraha, by 200,000 yojanas, is Buddha Graha, which is Mercury, whose influence is sometimes auspicious and sometimes inauspicious. Next above Buddha Graha, by 200,000 yojanas, is Angaraka, which is Mars, which almost always has an unfavorable influence. Above Angaraka, by another 200,000 yojanas, is the planet called Brihaspati Graha, which is Jupiter, which is always very favorable for qualified brahmanas. Above Brihaspati Graha is the planet Shaniascharya, which is Saturn, which is a very inauspicious. And above Saturn is a group of 7 stars occupied by great saintly persons who are always thinking of the welfare of the entire universe. These 7 stars circumnavigate Dhruvaloka, which is the residence of Lord Vishnu within this universe.
Thank you. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting that certain planets are auspicious, more auspicious, less auspicious. Like it was saying that Venus is always auspicious, and Mercury is sometimes auspicious, sometimes not. You know, we hear of like Mercury retrograde. That's like a time where Mercury is not so auspicious. And yeah, and then Mars is almost always unfavorable. It's interesting. And then there's a planet of the 7. There's a group of 7 stars that is occupied by the great saints. So like Vashishta Muni and Dhruvaloka. We know the story of how Dhruvaloka arrived. It's actually a spiritual planet in the material world where Lord Vishnu is. Okay, so now we'll read text 8. Who will read text 8? Oh, actually, we'll go in. I don't know if we can do the Sanskrit here, or we'll just do the verse. Yeah, you can read it. Yeah, thank you.
Above the rays of the sunshine by a distance of 100,000 yojanas, 800,000 miles, is the moon, which travels at a speed faster than that of the sun. In 2 lunar fortnights, the moon travels through the equivalent of a samvatsara of the sun. In 2¼ days, it passes through a month of the sun, and in 1 day, it passes through a fortnight of the sun.
Yeah, so the sun is actually closer to us than the moon. According to modern science, they say it's the opposite. The moon is super far away. It says here, above the rays. So the moon is 100,000 yojanas above the rays of the sunshine. And I'll show you a picture where it'll illustrate all of this. So, and the moon travels really fast. It was saying in the summary that the sun travels like at a different speed, like sometimes slower, sometimes faster, sometimes moderate, but the sun is always traveling, the moon is traveling really fast. Like in 2 lunar fortnights, so that's 1 month, it travels through the equivalent of a samvatsara, that's a year of the sun. So in just 2 months, the moon can travel the equivalent of a year of the sun. So the moon is like, yeah, okay. So somebody want to read the purport, please?
When we take into account that the moon is 100,000 yojanas or 800,000 miles above the rays of the sunshine, it is very surprising that modern excursions to the moon could be possible. Since the moon is so distant, how space vehicles could go there is a doubtful mystery. Modern scientific calculations are subject to one change after another, and therefore they are uncertain. We have to accept the calculations of the Vedic literature. These Vedic calculations are steady. Astronomical calculations made long ago and recorded in Vedic literature are correct even now. Whether the Vedic calculations or modern ones are better may remain a mystery for others, but as far as we are concerned, we accept the Vedic calculations to be correct.
Aye. Who's heard something in science class in school and it turns out to be wrong later on? What's some examples that you can think of? Yeah. That the moon is smaller than the Earth. Yes. Thank you, Dustin.
I wouldn't say they were wrong. I guess they changed their mind. But when I was younger, they said that Pluto was a planet, and they changed that.
That's the go-to. We were all so bewildered, right? We were like, "What's going on?" So we'll go more into the Vedic authority first, but I just wanted us to get a little bit of an idea, like a general idea of like Vedic cosmology, and because first we have to see, okay, what am I being presented here, and then if it's hard to believe or if we have doubts, then it helps to understand why it's important to accept the Vedic authority. So here I wanted to show you this picture here. This is showing the whole cosmic world. The thing is, whenever you see any of these pictures, it'll only show like certain like aspects. Like it's impossible for them to show everything because it would just be like too much. But this one has a pretty good amount of detail. You can see here, you have Bhuloka. So there's 14 planetary systems. We're in the middle here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lower planetary systems. And then there's 6 higher planetary systems. For some reason, it's not showing Bhuvarloka here. It's supposed to be like under Svarloka. And we're not going to focus too much on so many details. But you can see here the sun. Oh, the sun is rotating. And it's closer. The orbit is actually closer to the earthly realm, whereas the moon is higher up there. So we can see that, and then you can see all the different planets. You have Saturn, and then Earth is right here. And in every planetary system, there will be different kinds of living entities, different kinds of bodies that you would have if you do pious activities, and then you can go up to the higher planets, the demigods, like in Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Brahmaloka. That's where you have the higher like demigods that are living. Brahmaloka is Lord Brahma's planet. And what it's not really showing here is apparently it's like a flower, because you have the story, that's how the universe was created, that Lord Brahma came from the lotus stem of Lord Vishnu. And so this part here is kind of like the leaves. Yeah, so this would be like the stem. That's my understanding. The Mount Meru. Yeah. Yeah. He's up there. Yeah. And then I've heard a class by a devotee where this whole section here is kind of compared to like the leaf of the flower. And then they're subterranean heavenly planets here, so they're kind of like in the ground, So my understanding is very limited. If anybody wants to correct me, please feel free. But that's what I got from my little bit of research that I did on that. So yeah, in the Garbhodak ocean. Yeah, he's resting there, and then from the leaf comes, from the navel comes the stem, and then it goes all the way up there. Pretty cool, isn't it? Let's read what it says up here. You know, Hindu, obviously we don't really use that word, but in ancient Hindu cosmology, what we know as the earth is only one of countless worlds located in Brahmanda, which is itself only one of the uncountable universes. The known world was located in the middle of Bhuloka, comprised of many ring-shaped land masses separated by oceans of various composition. From its center rose Mount Meru, reaching into the heavens. With the cycle of reincarnation, it was possible to reach other upper and lower realms, or lokas. Below the Bhuloka was a multitude of increasingly worse hellish realms, with the ocean Garbhodak located at the very bottom. Above the earth and the sky were the heavenly realms, with the abode of the creator god Brahma located at the top of the world. This I was trying to find. I saw that some devotees were referring to it. I'm not exactly sure, honestly, who. Yeah, all I saw was devotees referring to it. You just Google image Vedic cosmology and you see it right there. There's this one too. I couldn't find like a clearer picture. Sorry, it's pretty blurry. But that one shows more like, you know, Lord Vishnu at the bottom and the lotus stem, and then you have all of the different planetary systems here. You know, we're in the middle planetary systems, and then there's higher and lower planets. And this one gives a little bit of a description of what kind of beings are in the heavenly planet. It doesn't say so much about the lower planets, but you see in Bhuvarloka, just the realm above us, you know, we say Om Bhur Bhuvar Swaha. So in Bhuvar, the Rakshasas and ghosts are there. In Svargaloka, you have, that's Indraloka. So you have heavenly planets. That's where there's the 33 million demigods and demons. And then on top of that, you have Maharloka, Janaloka, where the 7 sages are. Tapaloka, those, you know, tapasvis, yogis that do lots of tapasya, they go there. Jnanis and whatnot. And there's so much more we can say about this, but I'm trying to keep it simple. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah, because again, you know, and we'll get into that a little bit later, is we're trying to understand something with our limited senses, something that is beyond the purview of our like senses, and we're trying to like grasp it with our mind. But one basic thing we can always get from looking at this is just being like, wow, Krishna, you're amazing. You know, look at your creation, and like look at how small we are. We're literally like a tiny little ant. Yeah. And then there's this one too that I like. This one just kind of is a little bit more illustrating the kind of like beings that you have on the different planetary systems. So we're in Bhuloka here, so you can kind of see, like, I can't really see much, but some like civilization, I suppose. You know, people. It's like mode of passion. It's very much mode of passion. This planetary system, always go, gotta get more, gotta satisfy my lust. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if you go up, then you have more like mode of goodness, although here we kind of have like ghosts and rakshasas. Yeah.
May I ask a question now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'm really curious that the rakshasas and ghosts are in a higher planetary system than humans. But yet we're like right there, automatically we say that planet is more lower than us. I mean, just the verbiage is like, well, this you know, land of ghosts and rakshasas, but they're actually higher than us. So help me understand this.
Well,
please.
I'm sure Prabhupada Priya could answer better, but one thing I did notice in the previous picture was that the planets are divided by how subtle or gross they are. So in the middle planetary system, we have subtle and gross living entities, and then higher planets, they're subtle. So like ghosts and rakshasas. So that's one thing that I noticed. But Lower planets is just gross. It's just gross. Super gross.
Because it's the material world, then the criteria for superiority is material power. So the Rakshasas and the Yakshas and inhabitants of the Bhuvarloka, they have a lot more power and powers. Like they have these mystic powers. They can really like mess up human beings. They can cast illusions and things like that. They can do so many things. I mean, they can travel, interplanetary travel. They can do all these things that we can't even imagine doing. Well, we can imagine maybe, but we can't do. And so, yeah.
The microphone, please. Yeah.
We automatically assume about the demigods and the demons that they're living in this wonderful, heavenly, opulent life. Are the Rakshasas and ghosts also more opulent in that sense?
I mean, they could be if they wanted to, like they have a lot of wealth and power and they can create things. So, yeah, it depends on the taste, It's just like even on this planet, somebody may have facility to live opulently, but they choose not to. So, but they have more capacity if they wanted to live opulently, they could.
We have Gokulananda Prabhu also.
I was listening to a lecture of Srila Prabhupada, and he said that the problem with the ghostly body is that all you have is thinking and feeling, but you can't will because there's no body. So that it's actually hellish in one sense.
Yeah, it's true. There's Gokulananda Prabhu back there.
What I understand is the middle planetary system is predominantly prevailed over by the mode of passion, Rajaguna. So we have more passion in this particular, system, but Rakshasas, they are even more passionate. That's why they are situated little above.
I see. So I guess the heavenly planets and more in the mode of goodness would be higher up, I suppose, like from Maharloka, Janaloka. That's when I guess that's when we call like heavenly planets, like going to heaven. It would be on those higher up planets there. Heaven is Svargaloka. Oh, heavenly planets. That's right.
So yeah, when we say going to the heavenly planets and having all that enjoyment and drinking the soma rasa and everyone's beautiful and whatever, that's Swarga. Whereas the higher planets like Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Ramaloka, it's different. Then you get these ascetics performing penances and austerities and living very simple like yogis and worshiping the Lord. And those planets are actually very spiritual and people there have very high consciousness.
Yeah, that's right. Like you can tell, I mean, the picture is not great, but it starts to look pretty mystical once you start going up there, It's like, they're like looking like angels and whatnot. And then you have Lord. I like this picture. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I wish I could find clear pictures of these, but that's the material world, I guess. Krishna wants us to not get too excited about these, maybe. Sorry? Shvetadvip?
Zoom in. Yeah, I see Lord Mahesh and Durga on either side, but I don't see Shvetadvipa. Above Lord Brahma's abode. Yeah, Dhruvaloka is situated right next to Shvetadvipa. He's able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. But Shvetadvipa is the Vaikuntha within the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that.
I don't see it. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like none of the pictures are able to show everything. Like they can only focus a little bit. Yeah. So this one is showing cool pictures. That's the point of this. Look at this. You don't want to go here. That does not look like fun. Okay. So I wanted to close off and focus a little bit on like the importance of accepting Vedic authority. So first of all, I'm going to ask you, why is it important that we accept this, the authority of the Vedas? even though sometimes they might say something different that we've heard in school or something. Why is it important?
Why is it important?
Yeah.
Because there's massive propaganda otherwise, and it's untruth. So we have to present what Srila Prabhupada has given us. It's, what is it? Nescience is, what is it? Godhead is light, nescience is darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. And religion divorced from philosophy is fanaticism. Philosophy without religion is dry mental speculation. And that's all they have. They have will-o'-the-wisp in their hands. They don't have the absolute truth. And without the absolute truth, your knowledge is spoiled. Is that okay?
No, that's really good. Thank you. So what are the ways that people can get information or knowledge? This is from the introduction of Sri Upanishad. Anybody knows? Ascending, descending.
Ascending and descending.
Ascending and descending. And there's another third one also that is presented. Just like speculation is also another one. So I'll read from here. So Prabhupada says, there are three kinds of evidence: pratyaksha, anumana, and shabda. This is from the intro of Sri Upanishad. Pratyaksha means direct evidence. Direct evidence is not very good because our senses are not perfect. We are seeing the sun daily, and it appears to us just like a small disk, but it is actually far, far larger than many planets. Of what value is this seeing? Therefore, we have to read books. Then we can understand about the sun. So direct experience is not perfect. Then there is anumana, inductive knowledge. It may be like this. Hypothesis. For instance, Darwin's theory says it may be like this, it may be like that, but that is not science. That is a suggestion, and it is also not perfect. But if you receive the knowledge from the authoritative sources, that is perfect. If you receive a program guide from the radio station authorities, you accept it. You don't deny it. You don't have to make an experiment because it is received from the authoritative sources. So it's interesting because it's just a part of our life to accept authority. Like, has anybody here been to China? Nobody? Have you been? Okay. See, you've been, but everybody else who hasn't been to China, you still have some information about it. You're still like, okay, there's this amount of people, a lot of people, they generally speak different Chinese languages and whatnot. Even though you've never been, you've never seen it with your eyes, you're still like, it's not even a belief, like you're like, I know this as a fact. Because you have authorities that you follow that are worth your acceptance. But when it comes to anything spiritual nowadays, people have a really hard time accepting authority, I suppose because of how much harm was done in the name of accepting spiritual authority. But this is why parampara is so important. We don't just accept whatever interpretation of the scriptures. We accept the interpretation that has been passed down from generation to generation. Imam evam parampara praptam. Krishna says we have to accept this knowledge by disciplic succession. So here we talked about two ways of accepting knowledge. So one way is from the bottom down. So use my own senses to try to understand the higher knowledge. And the other one is just speculating. I have some information, but let me try to figure it out. Then we'll read about the last one, Vedic knowledge. So Vedic knowledge is called Shabda Praman. Another name is Shruti. Shruti means that this knowledge has to be received simply by oral reception. The Vedas instruct that in order to understand transcendental knowledge, we have to hear from the authority. Transcendental knowledge is knowledge from beyond this universe. Within this universe is material knowledge, and beyond this universe is transcendental knowledge. We cannot even go to the end of the universe, so how can we go to the spiritual world? Thus, to acquire full knowledge is impossible. So this is getting to the point of that the human form, we have 4 defects. What are the 4 defects that makes us unable to understand the higher spiritual knowledge? Yes.
Tendency to cheat.
Tendency to cheat. Yes.
Illusion.
I use the acronym MIDC: mistakes, illusion, defective senses, and cheating propensity.
A nice acronym now.
MIDC.
MIDC acronym.
Thank you. Yeah, so our senses are imperfect. That, Prabhupada gives the example. We look at the sun, you're like, a young child might say, wow, the sun is really small, it's like this big. But it's actually enormous. Or even in the mirrors in the car, it says objects in the mirror seem bigger, smaller than they are, or something like, what is it? Further away than they are, like that. And also, yeah, we do have the propensity to cheat, so it's hard to trust different scientists or authorities that are materially motivated, because we have the propensity to try to take advantage of others. And even pretending to know more than you actually know is actually like a subtle form of cheating propensity, which I might be doing right now, but I'm just trying to repeat. I'm just trying to like. Thank you. And then what's the other one? We're in illusion, right? We think we're this body. We think we're this mind. We think there's only one life. Or even, the typical illustration of the mirage in the desert, that the deer thinks that there's water coming in and just keeps running and running forever. So we're like that. We keep thinking that money, position, women, wealth is going to make me happy. We keep running, and then we die. And then it's all over. That. And fame and glory, same old story. And then what's the last one? What's the last one? We make mistakes, right? We make so many mistakes. Like we were saying with the scientists, that they'll have a theory, Pluto's a planet, all of a sudden Pluto's not a planet anymore. So we have to accept the higher authorities. We have to accept, because they come from God. There is a spiritual sky. There is another nature which is beyond manifestation and non-manifestation. But how will you know that there is a sky where the planets and inhabitants are eternal? All this knowledge is there, but how will you make experiments? It is not possible. Therefore, you have to take the assistance of the Vedas. This is called Vedic knowledge. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we are accepting knowledge from the highest authority, from Krishna. Krishna is accepted as the highest authority by all classes of men. Okay, I'll stop here. What's another way? What's a way for us to develop more faith? How can we develop more faith other than just, because this is kind of like it's kind of on the mental platform. It's kind of like logical. Okay, you can't trust our senses, blah, blah, blah. That's true, but what's another way where we can really realize deep down that the Vedic information is the absolute truth? Yes. Microphone, please.
We can experience that the transformation within our lives is real. Yeah. So if this is true, then where it comes from, the source, the authority, even if I don't understand it, even if I'm not equipped to understand it at this moment, I have to humbly accept that since the entire body of knowledge is, what I'm seeing now, a part of it is working, the rest of it also has to work, but I'll find out in due course of time.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think Prabhupada would say the proof of the eating is in the pudding. No, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. That's George Harrison. That's in the introduction of Krishna book. Yeah, that's true. It's true. The process starts with Shraddha. You have some Shraddha, some faith. Usually in a devotee, you meet somebody, you're like, whoa. How do you know all of this? How are you so peaceful? How are you so kind? So the faith in the devotee, and then they'll tell you, well, I learned it from this book. I learned it from Bhagavad Gita. I learned from Srimad Bhagavatam in the disciplic succession. So then you have a little bit of faith in the scriptures, and then you start studying here in classes, and then your faith in the scripture grows from there. So we can open it up for questions and answers. It's 8:22. One thing, okay, go ahead. Yes, bro.
So when you show me this chart and I see that Lord Vishnu is at the bottom of the universe, I get confused when I hear that Lord Vishnu resides in Vaikuntha and he's also at the bottom of the universe. Can you explain?
Yeah, so there's different forms of Vishnu, right? There's 3 major forms of Vishnu. So you'll see, do we see Mahavishnu in this one? No, I have to get the bigger. I want to see, because the one that I have there is like a zoomed in version. So like if you have, this one is like, so if you see this one here, so you'll have the first expansion, the first Vishnu is called Mahavishnu or Karnadakshay Vishnu, and he's lying on the causal ocean, and from his pores, every time he exhales, unlimited universes come out, and when he inhales, they come back in. So that's the bigger form, the first expansion, the first form of Vishnu, known as Mahavishnu. And then from him comes every universe, and then within the universe, then you have Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who is lying on the bed of snakes, and from him comes the lotus flower, where the universe, where the planets are. And then even smaller than that, or another form of Vishnu, is Kshirodakshay Vishnu, which is Paramatma, which is the Vishnu in our heart. He's also in every atom as well. So I think you see him right here. You cannot read this, but I think that's him. Kshirodakshay Vishnu. That's what you're talking about. Yeah, and then he's also in, is that the form that's in Dhruvaloka, I think? Shvetadvip. Yeah. Does that help, Dustin? Yeah. Different expansions.
Thank you.
Thank you, bro. Anybody else? Yes. I'm gonna pass the mic, please. You have to hold it down, I think.
About a year ago, the Indian government was real proud to say that they made it to the moon.
Mm.
And they show a picture of the desert with a little erector set, kind of remote control buggy that was going around, and it was the front page all over India, possibly all over the world, that the Indian government space program is successfully landed on the moon. So then a lot of devotees, ISKCON devotees, said that, quoted that Prabhupada said it's a doubtful mystery that the moon's 800,000 miles over the rays of the sun. There's no way that they could have gone there. Prabhupada said they never went there so many times. So the devotees in the Delhi temple, they're trying to be, they're trying to work with the Indian government. They want ISKCON to be recognized by the government, and they want help from the government. They want friendship with the government. So it didn't suit that mission at all to go around telling people that that they're cheating, that this isn't really the moon, and that they didn't go. So I was wondering how do we ascertain when it's a good idea to tell people what they're being taught in society is wrong, or should we just say, everything's right? There's just add Krishna, just chant Hare Krishna. You say you went to the moon, that's fine. Sure, of course you went to the moon. Who are we to argue? Just chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So how do you know when to preach the truth from the Bhagavatam, or just encourage people to, don't rock the boat and just chant Hare Krishna?
Yeah, I mean, I'm leaning more towards that. I think Vaisheshwar Prabhu, I think he says, you gotta keep the, what is it? The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. Main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. The main thing is we're trying to reawaken a pure love of God. And this information that we hear that Prabhupada says about the moon and this, is just to make us realize that we can't so much trust, mainstream society or authorities in mainstream society to give us the highest knowledge. And I've heard different things, sometimes Prabhupada will just say there's no way they went to the moon. I've also heard that he says if they did go, that they wouldn't have the consciousness, or they wouldn't be able to see everything that's actually there, because the moon is supposed to be like a heavenly planet, and there is living entities and life and all of that, and all they just see is just rocks and that. So yeah, that's why he said it's a doubtful mystery, right? He says, first of all, it seems doubtful that they'd be able to go, but if they were able to go, then they wouldn't be able to see anything that's actually there. But I know when you hear Prabhupada's classes, and I'm sure you have a million times, that he brings it back to the basics a lot. We're not this body. Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. But there's so much more information, right? There's so much information about cosmology and science and everything, and it's we can get distracted by that, and we can have conflicts with others when we're really just supposed to be very peaceful, loving, compassionate, kind, gentle, all of these things. So I don't think it's very beneficial to argue about details like that, how they went to the moon or not. What do you think about this? It's just my thoughts. Not having, especially when it comes to your own government. If you can have your government supporting ISKCON, that's a huge win. We don't want to, like you said, we don't want to rock that boat, telling them that they're lying to us or something like that. So I don't know. When I heard that they went to the moon, I was like, okay, I don't. Let me keep reading Bhagavatam. I don't know. It doesn't bother me so much. I don't think it's on.
Let the wise not disturb the minds of the ignorant.
Yeah.
If someone's screaming, "We went to the moon!" All right, you went to the moon. Have a nice day. Chant Hare Krishna.
Chant Hare Krishna.
Okay. Going back to that question about developing faith, Rupanuga Prabhu, he had a really nice entry here called Chanchi Srimad Bhagavatam on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Regarding this morning's class, perhaps the most effective way to increase our faith in the Vedas is to associate with those whose faith is greater than our own. And then Gokulananda Prabhu quoted Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25, and I have that here. Translation. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin.
Jai. Thank you very much. So maybe we'll close off on that. So if you still have any doubts, which is fine, by the way, Prabhupada says being skeptical, being doubtful is a sign of intelligence. And I've noticed, unfortunately, I've seen, like, especially newcomers that come to the temple, they don't want to, like, express their doubts, you know. They maybe because they're used to, I don't know, like, the religion they come from or something where you're not supposed to ask questions or something. Yeah. Or afraid of getting shut down or getting a response that makes them uncomfortable or something. But I'm telling you, if you still have any doubts about the philosophy or anything, please address like a higher authority, because that could be like a little bit of a pinprick, you know. It could be like a little bit of a weed that's stopping your Bhakti Lata Beach, your seed of devotional service from growing. We need to have implicit faith. We need to be completely surrendered. And there's an answer for everything. Don't think that there's none. There's an answer for everything. So, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.